A serious event, perhaps the most serious in 35 years, happened today inside the courtroom. Judge Astrid Kalaja was shot by a party in the trial, a property issue. Somewhere there are claims of forgery for ownership. The most macabre, most criminal story of these 35 years in Albania, the story of properties that were never returned to their true owners but were called ex-owners, or others who became owners with forged documents. Even the dictator himself and the communist system that had taken those properties had preserved the documents just as the Turks had preserved them 100 years ago, or even more for centuries. Then one day democracy came, and commissions were invented, court decisions, forgeries, property placements, overlaps. Meanwhile, Albania had many more times the area of free land because much of the land that had been reclaimed had been turned into new plots of land. There were hundreds and thousands of ways of compensation until the real owners and the real heirs could not enjoy them. Some suffered in prisons, others were stuck in courts for many decades. In fact, today's event does not justify anything, any action. It is a screaming wound addressed to the Albanian state, addressed to the institutions, the parliament, the government, starting from the issue of properties to the respect for justice, to our politics that with criminal language has shed bullets as real as those that were shed today against Judge Astrid Kalaja. Although they have not taken their lives, they have endlessly shed bullets on prosecutors and judges. Ilir Meta has shed them, behaving like a madman towards justice. Imagine the former president, former prime minister, and former speaker of the assembly who treated justice as an unstoppable bandit. Then Sali Berisha, who has said everything about justice, has gone as far as the head of SPAC, Altin Dumani, exposing his wife and family in the most criminal way. Why? Because he was under investigation. He did not go there to face justice manfully. Neither the first nor the second, but they attacked. It would have been more manly and more dignified for both as statesmen, both former prime ministers and former presidents, to face justice with arguments and not with accusations, not to attack prosecutors and judges with the poisons of their sick political minds. The third is Arian Valaya, from the most disgusting attacks since the time he treated SPAC as his property, that he had balls of steel, and to the manipulations about a prosecutor asking for 2 million euros, and for this he had witnesses, or even the personal attacks on the children of SPAC prosecutor Olzi Dato beyond his deceptions. On the other hand, Prime Minister Edi Rama has attacked justice relentlessly. At times he is dacked down, but he has also faced prosecutors and judges head-on. He has confronted SPAC, accusing it of wrongful arrests, and recently in an interview with Ogerta Manastirliu, he said that Arian Valaya was sent to prison without a court decision. Is the Prime Minister a fool? Arian Valaya, in fact, has gone through not one, but all levels of the courts, from the security measure, the assessment of the security measure, to the appeal, up to the High Court, the latter twice. Prosecutors were insulted, attacked, anathematized, and the parliamentary group of the Socialist Party gathered. Clotilde Bushka cried to us about what she would tell her children when she had committed a crime, had gone to destroy evidence that proved that Arian Valaya was part of a corrupt scheme, and today he faces at least 13 charges. A rector was taken and held up as an example of justice for us. They attack judges and prosecutors for the decisions they make. But have they ever seen what kind of lawyers the government has, how they behave? Are the state officials who deal with these papers that have to be faced in court capable or incapable? That's why today all of them are shouting and harshly condemning this crime and demanding that the aggressor receive the punishment he deserves. In fact, the aggressor is himself a victim in this story. Someone has emboldened him. Someone has forced him. He has been emboldened by the attack of politics that behaves like a structured criminal group against justice. Justice may have endless problems. The judges may be corrupt. They may have passed the vetting process, perhaps even unfairly. But the state should use legal instruments to fix them, not to attack and anathematize them, not to raise a spirit of hatred that then turns them into victims. Perhaps the property problems forced him, the fault of this state that for 35 years did not give the properties to the owner but valued the forger and the corrupt. This too is a product of a justice system that today unfortunately has a victim that perhaps should never exist. Therefore, the responsible party is not just the perpetrator who must receive the deserved punishment. The entire system in the Albanian state must receive the deserved punishment, for the crime of the property issue to the relentless crimes that come from the attacks of politics against the people of justice. When this property conflict started, the perpetrator was not born, but our state, our politics put them in conflict. The result is one of the most tragic. There are many others. The culprit is not only the perpetrator of the crime, who according to our political caste must receive the deserved punishment, but the second culprit, perhaps the main one, is the Albanian state itself, its structures, from presidents and prime ministers to the parliament and down to the small officials who have caused the wound of properties and raised the spirit of attack against justice.